Hello, and welcome to another episode of Fiber Mates. My name is Gay, and I do technical editing for knitwear designs based here in Melbourne. And this is my channel where I share a lot of my knitting projects and inspiration. So thanks for joining me today. Before I go any further, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm recording, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I have so much to share with you. I've been very busy knitting away since finishing my Noble sweater, which I discussed a couple of podcasts ago. And I have 7 finished objects to share and 2 whips if we can get to it. It's a lot of material to cover. Maybe I'll just start with what I'm wearing because I love this sweater. This is the Luca sweater by Kristen Finley. It's a beautiful basic raglan with this folded collar. I knit it in a merino yarn. It was kind of a mystery yarn that my mother gave to me, and the fluff that I held it with is Maximu Surrey silk, and I think the colorway was called Acid Rain. And I knit this a while back. It was a test for Kristen Finley, who runs Skein Yarn. So go check her patterns out. They're really great, I think. It was quite clear, and this knit up in no time at all and is a real staple. I wear it all the time, and it's very cuddly for wintertime here in the Southern Hemisphere. My first finished object is my book club cardigan by Sari Nordland. Here she is. Okay, how beautiful is this? I'm so pleased with how it came out. I thought that maybe the sleeves were a bit long when I blocked them out. But in looking at the photos, they're about the same length on Sari herself. So I am more than thrilled. Ooh, messed up my hair. What do I want to say? The yarn, of course. This is knit in Bendigo Woolen Mills Woolamai base. So that's their Corriedale base. The colorway is Dayflower, but when I went online to look and see if it was available, this color's not available anymore. There's a really similar color called Bluebell, but it's not quite the same as this one. Then I held the Woolamai 8-ply with Isair Mohair Silk, and that was the colorway 41. This project is very special to me because it was a buddy knit with a bunch of my podcaster friends, or my friends who have podcasts or not, and we're planning to wear them on the Friday at Bendigo when we go to the Australian Sheep and Wool Show. So it was myself, Emina from Stitches and Swings on Instagram. She does beautiful knits. Then Danny from A Knitter's Suitcase. She's almost done with hers. She's done a beautiful pine green version. And same with Allie over at Fiberbound. She also has a green version very similar to Danny's. And we've all used Woolamai. And I can't wait to get our group photo. Yeah, it's gonna be so fun to be twinning or quadrupling, I guess, in our cardigans. It does need buttons. We'll see if I have an opportunity to get down to a button shop between now and when the sheep show is, but there's I think a great button vendor that is generally at the show, so I might wait until then to get the buttons. I'll sew them on in the evening, maybe when we get back. This is the first time I've knit a pattern by Sari Nordland, and I thought it was very clear. I would have no hesitation in knitting another one of her patterns. The pattern had great instructions, was not confusing at all, and it's the outcome is superb. It's cozy, it's warm, maybe a bit on the heavy side, but for Melbourne, it's perfect. I will say that there is one cable that's facing the wrong way that I realized way too late to go back and fix. So it's just brings a bit of the, I guess, homespun feel to my cardigan, and it's a great story to tell. If you've ever knit a cable the wrong way and then not realized it until you were basically done, did you go back and fix it? Would you let me know in the comments? And also I'll say now that I'm thinking about the comments, anything that I talk about I'll put in the show notes. If you click more and more on your screen, you should be able to access those links. So book club cardigan, buddy knit, great cable definition, and it's going to be a go-to sweater, and when it gets a little bit warmer, I can also wear it basically as a jacket. I think this will be pretty hard wearing, even with the addition of the mohair silk. The yarn was great to work with. Not much else to say about that. Should we move on, because there's so much more. There is a theme here because my next project was also knit in Bendigo Woolen Mills Woolamai yarn. And it is this stunning Kookaburra sweater by Marzyna Kolacek. Look at the, I love that. This is an all over textural design, which is kind of blowing out. We actually have sun here in Melbourne today, so I definitely need to get out a bit later. I can put this on, but it's going to be a bit oversized for me because I knit this for my husband. Okay, look at these. They are kind of like little Kookaburra beaks, right? Like they're pointy. Oh, sorry about the color, like the lighting, but it is just quite bright here. Anyway, the construction of this sweater is really interesting. It starts with the shoulders and then is knit flat until you join, and then you it's knit in the round. So it's top down, and it's an all over textural pattern. So even the sleeves and the body, and then these twisted stitch diamonds at the top are just really fun to do. The charts are, well, I'll get to the charts in a minute. This is the first time I've knit it's not the first time I've knit a Marzyna pattern before. I knit her lullaby hat, gosh, it's probably about 5 years ago now. Anyway, I loved that pattern. And then for this pattern, what is unique to Marzyna's patterns is that you download only the size that you need. So there's no trying to decipher like the numbers. If you have an instruction to like knit, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 stitches or whatever, it's just the instructions for the size that you need. And that was the first time that I've done a pattern that was like that, and I thought that was really quite nice because it took away that aspect of having to think about the pattern or think about what you're doing, so you could focus on the actual doing, if that makes sense. The charts are, I think, more of a European standard chart than what we would normally get here in Australia. So I tried to start this sweater at the same time that I was working on the book club cardigan, but because the charts weren't the symbols on the charts were slightly different, and my head couldn't wrap around that. So I had to put this down for a bit until I finished my book club. But then once I picked it up and was focused on reading the charts only in that way, it flew by. It knit up pretty quickly, but I did work on it exclusively for, I think it took me about a month to make this one. My husband has not had it because I wanted to share it with you first, so I'll look forward to putting it in his cupboard later today. Let's see, what else? Oh, the color. This is the colorway Waratah in the Woolamai Bendigo Woolen Mills. But again, that color's not available anymore. I really hope they get a refresh of Woolamai before the Sheep and Wool show when we're up there gosh, when this releases, it'll be a week. But we'll see. It's a really great yarn to work with. Obviously, I've used it quite a bit. And it's not sponsored. I feel like this show should be sponsored by Bendigo Woolen Mills, right? But it's not. It was just a really fun knit. I enjoyed there's literally something going on all the time. Once you finished the diamonds, it was pretty smooth sailing. And I think there's an option to do to not do moss stitch, but to do stockinette. But I thought, why not? It makes for a really squishy fabric, a cozy and comfortable sweater. So the Kookaburra sweater by Marzina Kolacek. I just realized that when I put this sweater back on, that if my husband wears his Kookaburra sweater while I'm wearing this one, where it'd be like a bit of coordinate, like one of those couples that coordinates. Love it. It just made me laugh. Do you ever coordinate with your partner, either intentionally or unintentionally? I feel like for us it happens unintentionally quite a bit. Maybe that's just because over time we've grown to appreciate the same colors. Who knows? Anyway, the third and fourth finished objects I have to share with you are also knit in Bendigo Woolen Mills Woolamai base. And that is my sheep show hat and mitts by Kath Martin Designs. This hat I think is the cutest. I love it. I shared photographs of this on Instagram already. And I won't talk about it too much because I spoke about it. They were a whip in my last episode, but they're all done now, ready to go for the show, except in true style, in true form, to me, I did one of the cables in the wrong direction, and I can hide it by wearing this mitt on this hand, and then this mitt on this hand. There we go. So what a cute set is this. And I'll put my head down so you can hopefully see the crown increases, or decreases rather, how that works out. And I love a hat that's just kind of molded to the head. I know like a lot of hats nowadays have this kind of style, which you could achieve if you just make this one a bit longer and if you like that more pointed look. But I am really into like the kind of cap beanie, which I'm super happy with this. I think I made the size small. There's 4 sizes and I made the second size, which I think is the adult small. It came out really well. Again, the stitch definition for Woolamai is great for cables and twisted stitches. These mitts are achieved with only twisted stitches. I think I made that mistake last time too. Anyway, it looks like cables, but it's twisted stitches, so it's actually easier to achieve. Twisted ribbing on the brim and the cuffs of the mitts. These were part of the Bendigo project if you don't know about the Bendigo project, you should definitely check them out. It's a group of local designers who come out with a range of patterns that we knit and then have a meetup at the Australian Sheep and Wool Show. So the meetup for this year is on the 18th, I think around 2 o'clock, and we'll take pictures near the Hot Jam Donut van of everybody in their projects. So if you are going to be at Bendigo on the Saturday, there's still time, you still have a week. You could whip up a beanie or mitts, and there's another beanie pattern called the McKinnon beanie by Santa & Co. If you wanted to try a different, that's a 4-ply brioche, which I would love to make sometime. I just didn't have capacity really in my knitting to do that one this year. These mitts, this set, I'm super happy for. Can't wait to participate. The one thing I did want to mention is that in Kath's patterns, one thing I really appreciate as a knitter is that she's reproduced the charts for each size on each page. So you never have to really flip the pattern back and forth to get the information that you need. I thought that was really clever of her to do. So yeah, I think you'll like that pattern for that functionality. Finished objects 5 and 6 are super near and dear to my heart. If you don't know, I'm a member of the Country Women's Association, and we do have branches in the inner city. So I belong to the Collingwood branch, and we have for a number of years created a yarn from the sheep at the Collingwood Children's Farm. It's called Calling Wool, and part of the Calling Wool project is that we do quite a bit of charity knitting with that wool. Now, this year, our charity project is to make beanies and scarves from the Calling Wool to donate to Dame Phyllis Frost, which is a women's prison in Victoria here in Australia. The prison will then, as the women are released into the community, provide them with a hat and a scarf so that they have something to keep them warm, especially in the winter time, because it gets very chilly here in Melbourne. So I've made a little matching set, which I hope, well, I think it's really cute, so I hope somebody else would as well. Now, my first, I'll show the scarf, because I've made the Melbourne Shawl, or the Melbourne, I'm pretty sure it's the Melbourne Shawl by Kath Martin Designs. She's Mindful Melbourne Maker on Instagram. And I think I love this color combination of the pink and the white. It's an asymmetric shawl done in 8-ply. Oops, I've got that inside out. Done in 8-ply, Calling Wool. And it's got this transition of the colors. So if you have colors that are that have a lot of contrast, like mine, you get this little stripe effect. You could also use colors with less contrast, and it would be more of a fade effect when you do this transition. It's in garter stitch, so it's super cruisy. It's got a beautiful I-cord edge on both sides, which I love an I-cord, and it's just a really sharp looking piece. I think it's not too bulky. It's asymmetrical, so one side is a bit bigger than the other, but that I think lends itself to how you can wear it, like different ways you can wear it. My preference is like this. I love a nice cozy shawl around my neck. Now, because this was garter stitched and I wanted to knit a beanie, I thought, oh, that would be kind of nice to have that garter stitch incorporated into the beanie in some way, so that it actually looks like it matches. So I picked the Barley Hat by Tin Can Knits, and I gave it a little pink brim, and then it's got that panel of garter stitch at the front. I'm not sure if you can see it. Let's hold it a bit closer to the camera. There you go. It's got the panel of garter stitch at the front, and then it's stockinette all along the back. And I think it's super cute. The donations will be collected, I think the day after that this podcast goes live. So I'm so excited to contribute to that project with these knits, and super meaningful to me as well, because I can make patterns from people that I know and are my friends, and yeah, it just makes it more meaningful, I guess, when I'm doing that knitting. So here it is, Melbourne Shawl, the Barley Hat by Tin Can Knits, on all in Calling Wool. If you would like to know more about the Calling Wool project or about the CWA in the inner city of Melbourne, feel free to DM me on Instagram, and I can answer any questions or point you in the right direction. Okay, I am so excited for the reveal of my last finished object. I have been working on it since December, I think, it was part of the Amba Amba O'Brien's festive cal. And I didn't get it finished in time for the end of the cal in February, but it's done now, and that's what matters. And it is this beauty sitting right here, my Radvent throw and it's by Amba O'Brien. I'll put in some video of it here while I continue to talk about it. The yarn is spectacular. It is Hedgehog Fibers Advent, and I'm pretty sure it's the 2022 Advent. It's the pretty sure it's the first Advent I ever, maybe it's the second, which would make it the 2023 Advent from Hedgehog Fibers. Anyway, 1 year. I've held the Hedgehog Fibers with a natural Surrey silk from Louie and Lola Yarns. I wanted to achieve a bit of a muted palette, which is why I went with the natural color. These minis were absolutely wild. Here they are, still in their little Advent box, and you'll see that they are very vibrant, and I didn't want something, I didn't want the blanket to be like really jolting in color. I wanted something a bit more subtle. The Surrey worked beautifully for that. The border and the joins, the crochet joins, I suppose I should talk a little bit about the construction before, so I'll back up a step on that. The squares are knit by starting in the center, and then they're worked in the round, but you end up with a square pattern on account of the eyelets. I'm not sure if you can see that. No, I'll have to put in another picture. Oh, this blanket is so cuddly. But I still do need to weave in the ends. Anyway, I'm counting it as a finished object for the purposes of today, because, maybe I'll make that my goal this afternoon, is to finish weaving in these ends. The border color is super special. It's a yarn called Trek Hand Dyed by Amarisu, and I bought it when we were in Japan a couple of years ago. I went to Amarisu in Kyoto, and I got this set that was the birthday cake yarn and these two little minis, and I had thought about using the minis to do the seams, but I'm really happy I just went with the neutral color for that, because it doesn't take away from the individual squares, which are absolutely gorgeous. This pattern was super fun to make because every time you finished one of the squares, it felt like you got that same dopamine hit that you get from a total finished object. So it gives you, well, it gave me motivation to cast on the next square. And after doing a few, you get into the rhythm, and I could knit these on the tram. I did some on the tram, I did some at home. So it's actually a really good travel knitting project as well, because it's just minis, and if you have a mohair, you don't need to have one, but if you do have the mohair. Super proud of this blanket. I think it's probably one of the most beautiful things I have ever knit. So thank you, Amber, for for a pattern that really lets the yarn shine. It was so much fun. I think I'm going to start a go-go throw, which is also by Amber O'Brien. So that is my Radvent throw by Amber O'Brien. Now, we haven't gone too long, so I thought I might share a couple of works in progress. Last week, I released an episode with Susanna Cardigan where we were talking about circular yoke sweaters. I'm knitting the Anaris sweater that's by Susanna of Santa & Co. I thought I would give you a little update on how I'm tracking with my progress. Now, when I recorded the episode with Susanna, I had gotten up to my split for sleeves. Here it is. I have worked the rest of the body. There is a couple of chart repeats at the bottom or after the split for sleeves. And I have finished my first sleeve. The yarn that I'm using is called Let Lopi by Lopi Yarns. It is Icelandic wool, and I have these 3 colors. This one is called Galaxy on the website, but I think the color number is 1707. The green is simply called Green, and that's color 9423. And then the pink one is called Fuchsia, and that's color 1705. And I think together they are making a striking colorwork jumper. This Galaxy color has both the fuchsia and the green color kind of marled in, along with some bits of gold, or like a mustardy colored gold that pop out ever so often. And I think that's giving it a beautiful look. It's one of the lovely things about Let Lopi yarn is this heathered appearance. I have not quite run out, but I know that I will run out. So I have some more of this yarn coming. In Australia, you can get it from Convent and Chapel yarn shop, which is over in New South Wales. So that order is on its way. And what next? I'm going to use the rest of the yarn that I do have on the body, so I'll work on that a little bit more. I had some tension issues with my sleeve. I worked this final chart round and then worked a couple of inches of sleeve, maybe 2 inches of sleeve, and my sleeve was basically looking like a V because my tension was so much looser than the color work. So I dropped down a needle size, and I think that's looking great. I love the details of the color pops at the edge of the cuff. It's just a really smart way to tie in the colors of the whole jumper. Will I have this done before Bendigo or before the sheep and wool show? Probably not, but I will have it for the depth of winter at the end of July, beginning of August. So it will be in high rotation, I'm sure, after that time. And I'm also loving the process, so I don't need this one finished immediately. I'm really enjoying working with the Icelandic yarn. It is a more rustic yarn. I'm curious to see how it will feel after blocking, and I'll let you know. So I'll show this again once it's finished, but I'm super pleased with how it's come out so far. So there's my progress on the Anaris sweater. The next work in progress I want to share with you is my Amisk cardigan by Anna Daku. The pattern was originally published in the autumn 2024 Lina magazine, and I am loving this make for a number of reasons. One reason that I am loving this project is that I'm working with unspun yarn for the first time. This is Wool Dreamers Manchalopi yarn. It is made from the wool of the Manchego sheep, which is also the sheep that gives us Manchego cheese, which is delicious. So, and it actually looks like a bit of a wheel of cheese. It's blowing out there, but it's a natural color. I bought the plates of this yarn that I have when I was in New York at Vogue Knitting Live a few years ago. And when I saw that this pattern was made for Manchalopi, I thought, oh my gosh, fantastic. And I've made quite a bit of progress. I actually cast this on this week, so it hasn't even been a week, and I've already finished the back, the fronts, and split for sleeves, and I'm probably about halfway with the body, and I love it. It's got this beautiful saddle shoulder detail here, this lace work in the saddle shoulders. That will be translated down the arms as well, and it's finished with a very simple hem, and then you pick up along the front and the back, and there's no buttons, but you can call it a button band, the collar, and it's a shawl collar, and there's short rows because the back of the neck is a bit longer than the sides. So far the pattern has been really easy to follow, and clear instructions as you would come to expect from a Lina pattern. So no difficulties there. So that is the Amisk cardigan by Anna Daku. Well, was that enough? Is that enough knitting projects for you for one episode? Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate having you here with me and enjoying or sharing in my knitting journeys. If you have liked this episode, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It doesn't cost anything, but you'll receive updates on when I release new episodes. Now, I'm super excited for the Sheep and Wool show next week. I hope to see some of you there. Please come up and say hi, and let's get a photograph, and then I can maybe put together a reel of people that I've seen who have come to say hi. Are you going to the Sheep and Wool show? Do you have any special skeins in mind or projects that you want to buy wool for? I love to get inspiration for that. Before the Sheep and Wool show, generally will go through my Ravelry favorites and remind myself of projects that I want to put in my queue. And then I can keep an eye out for any special yarns that I happen to see while I'm browsing the yarn market. And don't forget all of the amazing sheep and fleece and the dog trials everyone that actually makes the sheep show what it is. It's not simply a yarn market. It is an amazing agricultural show and display of the effort of farmers across the country. So the sheep show is really special to me for that reason. It's really a celebration of everything in the wool industry, and I cannot wait to go. So until I see you at the Australian Sheep and Wool Show, happy knitting!